Good afternoon. I think you all know my name is Brian Manley. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Austin Police Department, and I've obviously got Chief Gay, Chief McIlvaine, Chief Dusterhoff up there near as well. First, I want to start off by apologizing to each and every one of you for the delay. I will tell you that the delay was because we just made notification to the deceased family minutes ago, and that will allow us to actually give the name of the deceased and give you a more complete briefing today. So I know y'all have been here for about 30 minutes and do apologize for that, but we felt it was important to be able to give you a complete briefing today. So obviously we're here to talk about the officer-involved shooting that occurred yesterday. Anytime we have an officer-involved shooting and there's a loss of life, this is a tragic event. It's a tragic event for the police department. It's a tragic event for our community. Because no matter what the circumstances are behind that shooting, someone has lost a loved one, whether it be a parent, a child, a brother, a sister, and that's tragic. We do value the sanctity of all life here at the department, both our officers as well as the community. So yesterday's events, as with all of our officer-involved shootings, are tragedies that we look to avoid when possible. So I do want to start off by naming the deceased from yesterday. The deceased is David Joseph, a black male, 17 years of age. And as I stated, we just made notification to his family, and so that's what delayed the press conference here today. Our officer that was involved in the shooting yesterday is Officer Jeffrey Freeman, and as stated yesterday, Officer Freeman has been with the police department for 10.5 years. Officer Freeman started the police department, graduated and commissioned July 8th of 2005. He is currently on administrative duty, as is standard practice when officers are involved in critical incidents. And he is assigned to the Edward 100s. That is a day shift patrol in Northeast Austin and has been there since 2013. I want to highlight the investigative process that's going to take place now. We have concurrent investigations going on right now. We have an internal investigation with the Internal Affairs Division that will look at this incident to determine whether or not it was in compliance with APD policies. That investigation will have involvement from the Office of Police Monitor, who oversees all of our internal investigations, and all of our critical incidents end up going to the Citizens Review Panel as well. So they will all play an active role in the internal investigation of this incident yesterday. There will also be a criminal investigation to determine if this incident was in compliance with the law, and that investigation is conducted by the department's Special Investigations Unit in tandem and with the District Attorney's Office, who ultimately will present this case to a grand jury upon its completion. The Austin Police Department has very strict policies on response to resistance and use of force. These policies have been in place for many years and are the result of our work with the Department of Justice several years back. These policies have been approved by the Department of Justice, and these are the policies that we will review when we look at this incident through both the administrative investigation and the criminal investigation. At the scene yesterday, we wanted to give a briefing as soon as possible in an effort to get information out there. When we gave you a briefing yesterday, we had yet to complete the search of the crime scene. We had not yet even spoken to Officer Freeman to get an initial account of what had happened out there. And so we were unable to answer some questions yesterday that today we will answer. First and foremost, there was a lot of interest on whether or not this individual was armed, and we were not able to confirm that yesterday again because we had not yet completed our search of the crime scene. We had not interviewed Officer Freeman. And as we stated yesterday, a significant portion, the critical portion of this incident took place out of the camera frame, so we weren't able to see that as well. So we did not want to put out any information that we were not 100% certain of when we briefed you yesterday. We can tell you today that Mr. Joseph was not armed when he had his interaction with Officer Freeman yesterday, and that will be part of the ongoing investigation both internally as well as with the SIU and the District Attorney's Office. To go through the timeline briefly, we initially got a call, as we mentioned yesterday, at 305 Yeager Lane. This was a disturbance, and the information that we had was we had a subject described as a black male chasing another subject through the apartment complex. Officer Freeman was a responding officer to that call, and he spent a short while at that call talking to witnesses, trying to understand what took place, and to locate the suspect from that incident. He did not locate the suspect while he was at the apartment complex, and when he cleared the call, he stayed in the neighborhood in an attempt to potentially locate the suspect. The information that he had was that that suspect had been chasing another male through that apartment complex, confirmed by the witnesses that he spoke to. As he stayed in the area in an attempt to locate the suspect, that is when the incident occurred in the 12,000 block of Nature's Bend. This is the part that was captured on the officer's in-car camera and will be a critical piece in the investigations, both internally and through the Special Investigations Unit and the District Attorney's Office. We've already kind of described to you yesterday about what happened when he came across Mr. Joseph, gave commands for Mr. Joseph to stop. Mr. Joseph ultimately charged towards Officer Freeman, and again, that's when shots were fired. It's very important at this point for us to be able to conduct as thorough of an investigation as possible, that we speak to all witnesses who have any information regarding the events, both the officer involved shooting yesterday, and as we reported, there were suspicious calls and activity in that same neighborhood on Sunday. We need to speak with witnesses that were at the apartment complex at 305 Yeager that may have witnessed that subject chasing an individual through the apartment complex, or anybody that witnessed the interaction that took place again on 12,000 Nature's Bend. I want to reiterate at this point again that anytime a life is lost, we do view this as a tragic event at the department. We strive to avoid these, and again, our hearts go out to Mr. Joseph's family for their loss. And at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions. However, realize that this is a very complex investigation, and we are only 30 hours into it at this point, very preliminary, so there's not a lot more information that we're going to be able to release at this point. However, if you have a few questions, you may ask.
Chief, have you reviewed this video?
I was able to watch the video on the scene yesterday.
Is there anything about that video that strikes you in regards to red flag or anything else?
Again, the video is going to be part of the ongoing investigation. The video depicts, as I said, it depicts his interaction when he first came across Mr. Joseph, and then Mr. Joseph charging towards Officer Freeman. Officer Freeman continually giving commands to Mr. Joseph, to which he did not comply.
Was this
there
a
an
fast?
attempt for a taser to be used at any point?
I'm sorry?
Was there any attempt to use a taser?
That will be part of the questioning when Officer Freeman comes in to be interviewed. They will go over with him what options he may or may not have attempted to employ. Obviously, we're aware from the video and from the outcomes of the incident that deadly force was deployed, but his thought process and what his other options were will be part of the investigation.
Chief, give us the timeline in regards to interaction to the charging. Did this happen fast, or was it a drawn-out interaction?
With what is captured on the in-car camera when Officer Freeman gives his initial commands to Mr. Joseph, and the time in which Mr. Joseph charges towards Officer Freeman was a matter of seconds. I couldn't tell you exactly how many, but it was not a very long duration.
Chief, how many shots were fired?
That's be part of the ongoing investigation.
So you said yesterday shots, at least 2.
Again, the total number of shots will be part of the ongoing investigation.
So the police department has not asked Officer Freeman at all if he could have used a taser in this instance?
So Officer Freeman has given an initial statement that he gave at the scene, and he will be brought in this week for a formal interview with the investigators that are assigned to this case.
Can you tell us what was in that initial statement about a taser?
When we do the initial statement, it's just to get the facts that occurred at the highest level, so we understand where we need to look for potential evidence and what may be part of the scene that we have to process, so we don't get into the questioning of what decisions he made and why he made them. That's beyond the scope of that initial interaction.
Is that a verbal or a written statement?
That's a verbal statement that we take at the scene.
When do you
Any
expect him to
indication
come in?
that drugs were involved, or they're looking into that?
That's part of the toxicology report that the medical examiner's office does as routine, and the reports will take between 30 and 45 days normally to get a toxicology result back.
And what do y'all know about the teen? I mean, was he a local high school student? Was he still in high school? Did he play sports?
I don't have any information on his personal life yet. As I said, we've just now been able to finally get a positive identification and a notification to the family about their loss.
Has there
Does
been
he have a
any
criminal
interactions with?
background? Is there a criminal background?
Today's not the part to talk about whether or not this young man had a criminal background. That's not what we're here to do
Is he
today.
from Austin?
I don't know if he's from Austin or not. I believe that we're making notification to family members that live in Austin, and whether that is actually where he resided or not, I do not yet know.
Do you know
When
the
will
autopsy's being done at?
When will
I'm sorry?
The autopsy, where is that being done?
The Travis County Medical Examiner's Office is handling the autopsy.
Any indication to why he wasn't wearing clothes? Know anything at this point?
No, we really don't have any way of knowing that at this point. Again, we're going to be conducting some pretty comprehensive investigations, and I don't know whether or not that will turn up the reasons for why Mr. Joseph was naked at the time he interacted with
Okay,
Mr.
one
Freeman.
more question.
Are
Can
you aware of any,
confirm-
are you aware of any history of mental illness?
Again, today's not to talk about the past with this young man. That will all come up as part of the investigation that we're going to conduct, but we're not here today to talk about any other interactions we may have had with him.
When do you
Thank
expect
y'all.
Officer Freeman to be interviewed?
Officer Freeman will be interviewed this week.
Any past interactions with the team?
Again, we're not going to talk about whether or not we've had any interaction. Today is not to dispel any negative comments about Mr. Joseph. We're just here to talk about the interaction that took place yesterday and provide some information to you today that we were unable to provide yesterday because we were not 100% certain.
Chief, I know you got to go, but was he completely naked, or was he partially clothed, and did you find his clothing elsewhere on scene?
The reports that we have at this point is that he was completely naked when he interacted with Officer Freeman on the 12,000 block of Nature's Bend.
Did you find his clothing anywhere?
That's part of the ongoing investigation.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Can you say if this is a